Hello everybody and welcome back to Inhuman Resources, back at the evaporation department where we visited once before. But it's a retirement home no one wants to visit, but we need to come back here because we need to get our certification from this department. Much like a retirement home, you soon discover a closed off area that feels old, empty and reminiscent of a boring tomb. It's a small room designed to resemble the waiting area of a doctor's office, albeit one that hasn't seen any patients, renovations in a couple of decades. Weirder still is that everything from the decor to ambiance doesn't feel out of place to you, but the rest of this office's eldritch, outlandish sensibilities. From the ugly furniture to the potted plants and even the ugly magazines. The only thing that fits Smendacor's usual aesthetics are the myriad monochrome photographs framed upon the unflattering beige walls. Each one depicts some important looking politician from some indistinguishable nation, shaking hands with one or more middle-class representatives, and even if their eyes haven't been scrubbed out by streaks of black marker, you doubt you recognise a single person in those portraits. All in all, you're struck by a sense of peace, the kind you get when visiting museums or old buildings set to be demolished. A sad, depersonalised nostalgia for a place you never visited, in an era you never lived in, that somehow feels as precious as a childhood memory. Hoping for some guidance regarding your certification, you approach a tall booth-shaped alcove built into the wall, likely a desk where secretaries would have normally greeted visitors. Unfortunately, it's completely empty, save for a rusted typewriter and a handwritten note congratulating someone on their recent retirement. Wiping away a layer of dust thicker than cake frosting, you notice the date was noted at January 2005. Well, this isn't a promising start. How are you supposed to earn a certificate from a department that's been abandoned for years? Then, as you rack your brain for answers, you finally hear it. The faintest hint of a man's groaning voice. You strain yourself to listen closer and isolate the noise's source. Your ears eventually lure you to a half-open metal door, upon which hangs a cardboard sign inscribed with ominous words, "Evaporation in progress, do not disturb." A warning, obviously, but in your case perhaps it could also be a dangerous invitation. We've already come back later once before, we're going to follow the voice. The door lets out a low-toned wail, grinding against rusted hinges. You tiptoe in, walking down a lightless hall that leads to a bright open room. The further you go, the louder the man's groaning becomes. The room ahead is akin to an asylum's padded cell. Its claustrophobic floors, walls and ceilings are all plastered in thick sepia carpeting, spotted with dark black stains that even Smendacor's ammoniac cleaner couldn't wash away. An array of other decorative details immediately jump out at you, from the large steel lockers set in each corner, to the old ergonomic dentist chair, painted a hideous shade of turquoise. We start to take in everything when the middle-aged man sitting in that chair is waving you a chipper hello. "Hey there, you here to help me with my procedure?" Wow, he actually looks happy, like genuinely happy. You're not used to that around here. What's more, he's actually wearing something other than a stupid black turtleneck, and his eyes are bright with excitement rather than dull with exhaustion. No way in hell is this an employee. Could he be a customer? When you open your mouth to ask that question, you're left gagging on the stranger's ungodly breath, hitting you from 10 paces away. A smell like warm, rotting egg assaults your now stinging nostrils, the stench thicker than subtropical summer air. Bile curls in your stomach like sour milk turned to sour cheese, and you soon notice the man's proudly bared teeth are as gnarled and putrid brown as clumps of termite-nibbled wood. You hold back enough to dry heave and look away from that rancid dentistry, only to see another man right behind you, his glare sharp as scalpel blades. In his hand dangles a bundle of long Kevlar straps and a gruesome-looking contraption made from jagged, blood-slick steel. Who are you and what are you doing here? Answer me. Now. The old man is short and he's streamed back from him, as though towered over by someone taller than Burgard. Despite his many wrinkles, age has failed to weigh him down. His shoulders are straight, his posture alert. The tone of his voice is harder than quenched steel, much like the metal that must have carved the features of his angry face. Hidden beneath his lab coat, you make out a rusty name tag pinned to his black uniform. Kazuha Kuraka, Senior Evaporation Supervisor. Mr. Is it Kuraka? Kuroka? We'll go with Kuraka. Mr. Kuraka, is something wrong? Not yet, Theodore. Please remain seated. Now, I need you to understand something, trespasser. Mr. Zadruzinski requested his evaporation procedure occur with minimal outside interference, so why, pray tell, did you enter this room, despite the sign outside specifically requesting you not? Honestly, you're doing the same thing. The Kevlar belts in his fists sway like pendulums, and his knuckles whiten as his grip tightens. You sense he might be warming up to swing them at your head. Better defuse the situation before someone gets hurt, namely you. I think probably standing our ground is more better than begging forgiveness. Stand our ground, we can't live without certification. The fate of the free world is in your hands and time is running out. Threats like this won't scare you, not when you need that evaporation certificate. Either offended or impressed by your courage, the stiff-faced supervisor's harsh stance softens. Ah, you must be the one Abuya spoke of. I'm sorry he wasn't lying about bringing new blood to our department. We've had no company recruits assigned here since the restructuring in '99. You have to excuse my prior hostility, but you also have to excuse my current unavailability. I'm in no position to be supervising your initiation, let alone your certification. As I'm sure you can tell, we're incredibly short-staffed, and Mr. Zadruzinski can't exactly evaporate himself. Seconding his technician's words, the rotten-toothed man gives a polite wave, no doubt impatient to undergo evaporation. Kazuma, meanwhile, waves you towards the door, no doubt impatient for you to leave and come back next week. Considering what's at stake, you can't afford that kind of setback. Standing firm despite budding anxiety, you insist that your certification needs to be done today. It doesn't matter if you have to wait until Theodore's procedure is finished, or sit back and watch him perform every grueling step of it. One way or another, you will get what you need. With a deep sigh, the old man's stark figure seems to deflate. Your arguments must have been sufficiently convincing, or sufficiently pathetic, for him to try hearing you out. Very well. I suppose indulging a single onlooker won't be an unreasonable request. That being said, I must insist that my client's procedure remain the utmost priority, and I won't just hand out certificates to someone who sits back and watches, or rely strictly on theoretical knowledge. I need to witness some resolve befitting of the responsibilities inherent to our department. Which is why you'll be getting your hands dirty and completing this evaporation procedure with me. You definitely don't like the way he emphasized the word dirty, but at least you convinced him. Theodore, for his part, looks overjoyed at the prospect of being used as an example. He claps and squeals like a preteen, about to watch their favourite boy band play a live encore. Oh, this is exciting. Now I won't be the only one doing this for the first time. It will also be your last time. Do not forget, our business rapport must remain temporary. Now then, new blood, make yourself useful while I finish Mr. Zadruzinski's preparations. Please retrieve the briefcase containing Theodore's case file and the pair of pliers on the bottom shelf of that cabinet. Combination's lock passcode is 7862. That might be worth remembering for the future. The old man may not have threatened you, but his tone is firm and cold enough to make you sprint towards the locker. Sure enough, the stainless steel door has been sealed behind an unusually shaped, vertically aligned combination lock. The small knot to fit in the palm of your hand is surprisingly heavy and appears dense enough to withstand high-caliber rifles. Thankfully, its myriad buttons offer a much simpler means of entry. 7862. Mechanisms inside the device step into place with satisfying clicks, and the padlock hits the ground. But as soon as the door itself cracks open, you wish it remained closed. Inside the locker rests an assortment of ghastly tools, chipped and scratched by overuse, manacles with inch-thick chains, blowtorches of all shapes and sizes, straight razors with Damascus forged blades, brown glass bottles filled with chemicals, their labels worn down to illegible scriptures of ingredients and side effects. The only thing you can't see is a single speck of dust, probably because these tools section far too often for any to accumulate. Please don't leave fingerprints anywhere inconvenient, retrieve only the items I requested. The old supervisor barks his directives as the sound of the shuffling Kevlar straps and fastening buckles, punctuated by Theodore's nervous chuckling. You reach the metal briefcase on the bottom shelf, a clasp secured by the same unwieldy padlock as the door that protected it. A wave of relief rushes over you as you notice the pair of simple channel lock pliers atop it, which look downright dinky next to the gruesome tools above. Odds are, Kazuma only needs them to adjust a screw or something. I'm not sure on that. Unfortunately, the second you turn around, you no longer believe that convenient lie. The over-enthusiastic Theodore's smile has been warped by mounting dread, as Kazura finishes strapping his limbs and neck to the dentistry chair. His chest falls and rises with deep, fearful breaths, his twinkling eyes now focused on the pliers in your now shaking hands. Kurokawa, meanwhile, unfolds the metal device he was clutching before. It appears to be a cage-like contraption made of steel wires and jagged braces, vaguely shaped like the inside of a human mouth. You've never seen anything like it before, but something tells you that you're about to discover its intended use, because the old man nods your way and makes a simple, stomach-churning inquiry. Would you rather hold his head or pull his teeth? Theodore's grin grows wider, saving his last smile. He's testing your determination. After pull Theodore's teeth, you'll look tougher that way. Kazura did mention resolve was a key factor for evaporation certification, so you might as well make yourself look confident to improve your odds. After all, he's not really going to make you torture this guy, right? I suspect you've underestimated the importance and necessities of our department's responsibilities. On one hand, we do perform manual labour related to mass replacement procedures and post-truth historical revisionism. However, these are merely duties imposed by our company's leaders. Responsibilities to serve profit margins instead of humankind's objective betterment. Our true goal is much simpler and more compassionate, however. Furthermore, it actually predates Smirnocor's reconfiguration into a corporate entity. The supervisor gestures to the customer, who seems utterly unperturbed by your conversation or his state of belted bondage. If anything, he seems to be wondering why you haven't started yet. There are people in this world for whom society is a prison. Be it due to caste, criminal history, marital dissatisfaction, or financial status, many seek to escape their fate and start over with a clean slate. To embrace the right to be forgotten in a world that is always keeping track of everything we've ever done, from innocuous pictures on social media to birth certificates or social security numbers. In other words, this department doesn't only dispose of company enemies, it also performs procedures necessary to erase willing participants from their current lives, ensuring they remain untraceable by eliminating all possible evidence of their existence from the world. And sometimes that involves removing a client's teeth so that no one can track them down from the dental records we failed to delete. Unfortunately, as you may have guessed by the state of his molars, Theodore saves grave psychological trauma relative to invasive buccal procedures. Hence, despite his extreme willingness to undergo full evaporation, I anticipate the process will be rather difficult. He's right, you know. Me and dentists do not get along, so I'm probably going to scrum an awful lot. Though the middle-aged customer is smiling, his nails are sunk into the chair's armrests, already braced for pain. Cold sweat thicker than the hair gel sticks down his unkempt beard and makes his forehead glisten like a funhouse mirror. A shiver runs through your body, though you cannot tell what scares you more, the fact you might be forced to subject someone to atrocity, or the fact someone would suffer it so enthusiastically. The average human being has 32 teeth. The fact that Theodore's are rotten might make them easier to remove, but still a lot of slow, deliberate violence to inflict on another person. And even if you're strong enough to remove every single one, there's no promise you can stomach so much cruelty without passing out. Besides, even if the fate of the world depends on this evaporation certificate, can you really go through this? The department Stoke supervisor stares you down, writing the answer to that question. Very well, will help. Your blood goes cold, your hands are shaking, knees weak, arms are heavy, mother spaghetti. You're sweating as much as Theodore, but if this is your only chance to lay down Smirnosaur, doing the impossible is a small price to pay. Though Kazura's expression remains impassive, you get the sense he might be smiling. Glad I can count on your cooperation. Smirnosaur would be a far kinder place if more people had your breed of compassionate courage. The old man gestures to some paperwork pinned to a cardboard on the wall. Rather than pins or thumbtacks, the company issued forms held in place of bladed weapons, ranging from unfurled butterfly knives to triple-pronged medical instruments. I'll be sorting through my latest reports. Let me know if you have any questions, or signal me once you're ready to begin. Feel free to converse with Mr. Zadzurinsky or peruse his case file. Perhaps you might unearth information that could aid our coming process. And with that, the stoic supervisor is gone, leaving Theodore strapped to the dental chair, unable to escape. His blank eyes dart from side to side, his happy smile growing a bit anxious. So, what now? We'll start with the documents on the wall. See what happens there. Though intimidated by the assortment of razor-sharp blades used in lieu of thumbtacks, you scour the paperwork for potentially relevant information. Though most appear to be mostly written medical files, one sheet in particular is listed as evidence used to justify a Smurd employee's internal assassination. And let's have a look at the briefcase. Knowledge is power, and you specifically want the power to not pull a man's teeth out. There's a chance this case file only contains tips on how to better butcher Theodore's Moore, or overly invasive trivia about his private life, but you'll take what you can get. The chrome briefcase is surprisingly heavy, even though it only contains paper. The file Kazura mentioned must be borderline encyclopedic. No way to tell for sure though, the briefcase itself is armour-plated, reinforced to deter unwanted intrusions. And its hefty combination lock appears just as unassailable as the one that kept the locker barred. No way a weakling like you can open this thing with brute force alone, not without an industrial grade jackhammer. Here's hoping you know the password. Take a close look at the combination lock and start fiddling. Presumably it might be the same as the previous one, 7862. I think it was 7862. After typing in your attempted password, the padlock suddenly begins emitting an ominous ticking sound. Fearing that you trigger some sort of self-destruct countdown, you press the buttons in a panic, hoping to stop the process. But all of them have become completely unresponsive. Not a bomb then, just a lockout timer meant to discourage ambitious burglars. It might be wiser to look for clues, otherwise you could end up wasting hours trying to crack this thing open, and if that happens, well, let's just say it'll be like pulling teeth. We'll come back once we find the code, we might find it somewhere. Let's ask Theodore about stuff. It's not every day you meet a normal citizen in the Shadow Corporation's most secretive sector, let alone one who's happy to be here. How he ended up Smirnocore and why he's so gung-ho about leaving his old life behind will probably make for quite the story. You approach him, who, despite being strapped to that dentistry chair, appears at complete ease. You give him a nervous wave hello, but the red-haired customer only reacts to the greeting when he starts to cough on his palpably foul breath. Can he not see you? Hey there, stranger. Were you coming to do my prep work for my evaporation thingy? I can't wait to get started. Man, he's really looking forward to this, huh? Always looking forward to it being over anyway, because his glazed eyes keep darting towards that ply in your hands, no doubt dreading their intended purpose. At least you two have that in common. You clarify you're only here to learn more about your soon-to-be patient, rather than appear disappointed. The middle-aged fellow seems more than willing to lend assistance. Sure, ask away. It's pretty easy to be an open book when all your pages are about to come blank. Do you know how to unlock that briefcase and need something inside it? Sorry, Mr. Kurokawa told me I'm not allowed to answer that. Said it would help teach other employees to practice empathy and active listening. If you want the answer, you have to pay attention to what I say and guess the answer. There's no ill will in his tone, but neither is there room for argument. Seems you'll need to do more sleuthing if you care to find out what's going on. Tell me about yourself. According to Kuzo, willful self-evaporation isn't something people choose on a whim, it's quite literally life-changing. Why was someone so genuinely joyful to go through with this? What kind of calamity could have driven Theodore into this corner? Ha! If you think I look happy, it must be because I'm about to be freed from a life that never let me be happy. I won't give you the whole sub-story, it's too boring to bother telling. But to keep things short, I was born abroad, then moved here after my mum left my dad for an abusive arsehole, after which he began beating me. Then I hopped between foster homes a few times, tried to become an artist, and failed. Got married to someone I didn't love, had 2 kids I never wanted. The usual. Other than that, my only pride and joy was the shop I opened, a grocery store right at the edge of town. 5530 Food and Fruits, freshest in the West End. That's curious to me. That might be I reckon that's the code, 5530, because he doesn't want to tell us, or he's not allowed to tell us. But he's telling us in coded form. 5530. That's how I answered the phone, you know. About 50 times a day, 7 days a week for 24 hours. I don't know if I'll ever stop answering calls that way, no matter what Kazoo does to me. Anyway, after a while I couldn't take it anymore. Never following my dreams, killing myself with overwork just to feed kids who never liked me, and a wife who cheated behind my back. I felt like a zombie. Heck, I was even less than a zombie. At least those things crave brains. I didn't even crave death enough to kill myself. Anyway, I started looking for a way out. Divorce lawyers, bank loans, fake passports, you name it. But none of it seemed right. There was always something holding me back from completely starting over. There is silence as you struggle to digest this unpalatable tale. You can tell this man's grief is genuine, his desperation real. And if you'd been in his place, you're not entirely convinced you would have chosen differently. Some people perhaps need something like Smirnocore to escape their lives, minus the lobotomies and the attempts to eliminate free will, that is. Anyway, there's still water under the bridge. Ever since I got scattered by Smirnocore, I've been living my best life. Once my evaporation's done, I'll be leaving an even better one. Well, at least his good mood is back, but still a few certainties nagging at you. What do you plan on doing with your new life? Honestly, I have no idea what I'll do, and that's what's great about it, because I can do anything I want, no matter how big or how small. I won't lie, part of me wants to do all the things I never got to do in my old life, getting over what my dad did, touring the home country a bit, learning to paint a bit better, but I'm looking forward to trying all the things I never even thought of doing, and my old life won't be there to stop me from trying anymore. Whether I end up homeless or movie star famous, I'll be happy, because at least my life will really be mine this time. And that's not nothing, is it? No, it definitely isn't. You've basically been enslaved by this nutcase of a company. Thought of having a messy life under your own control again is the only thing that keeps you going. How were you scouted by Smirnocore? Oh right, you won't know about that either. Based on what Kurikawa told me, Smirnocore uses these folks called doppelganger members as like spies or something? I had a hard time finding that part of his spiel, honestly. Anyway, one of them must have caught me looking up bootleg passports online because I got a call from a company rep asking if I was interested in qualifying for a fresh start program. So I came into their offices, signed a few things, answered a few questionnaires, got labelled a non-threat by some risk assessment team, and here we are. Pretty nifty, right? You force yourself to nod along, careful not to alarm the easygoing Theodore, but your mind is already racing, pushing what they would have done if those tests had labelled him as dangerous. Something tells you it would either involve a microchip or a bone saw to the dome. More concerning, however, is just how many eyes and ears Smirnocore must have posted all over the world. They can survey so many people down to the most minute interactions. No doubt their information now will grow even vaster once the Radio Mega deal goes through. And why name your thing after a crucial number? Theodore rises uncomfortably beneath the cover belts, as if he finally realizes how tight they are. He bites his lip, flustered, his rotten teeth staining the pale skin with brown. It was a stupid mistake I made while filing out paperwork. I got two of the columns mixed up and ended up listing the address number as the business name instead. Funny though, isn't it? It was just one teeny tiny typo made somewhere around 3 AM while trying to rock my daughter back to sleep, and ended up haunting me for almost 20 years. 5530 Food and Fruits, freshest in the West End. It's the background music in my nightmares at this point. It's also the only thing I ever did right in my life, even if it was built on a foundation of sloppy spell checking and slightly unripe mangoes. Bit silly of me to be mourning that store more than my own kids, isn't it? Yeah, this is definitely the code. The way Theodore talks about it, it sounds less like a number and more like a life chapter he's never really gotten over. One way or another, those 4 digits carry major significance. Yeah, I got that. You've got dentistry-related trauma? Let's try find out about that. Your question, much like a mishandled root canal, seems to have struck a nerve. Theodore winces as though you already yanked out one of his compost-coloured molars. He begins to shiver, rattling the metal device strapped to his head. Luckily, you lent an ear to Zandruinski's plight long enough for him to show trust in you. After a few quick, shallow breaths, he decides to confess. My dad was a dentist, but more importantly he was an alcoholic, a violent one. At first he'd only go after my mother, calling her names, or breaking things when he got angry. But the day he struck her, she filed for divorce and left his ass right there and then. Smart move, I think. Problem was, her being gone meant he could only take his anger out on me. It started off small, some name calling when he'd catch me eating sweets, sending me to bed hungry if I didn't brush my teeth. But pretty soon it got dangerous. He'd scream and spit at me if I had bad breath, saying he'd never help a patient as disgusting as me. He'd beat me upside the head if he got me eating processed sugar. He'd even stab me in the arms with dental picks if he ever thought I didn't floss. Though even if I did, he was usually too drunk to tell the difference. Theodore sniffles, milky white eyes glistening with emotion. Yet despite his sorrow, a smile manages to tickle the corners of his bearded lips. After a few shallow breaths to gather his courage, he managed to conclude his story. By the time he drank himself to death, I moved to my first foster home. Not taking care of my teeth kind of became a way to get back at him, you know. It was a way to prove he couldn't hurt me anymore, no matter what I did or how bad it got. But it's pretty obvious I let things get way worse than they ever should have, huh? Zadrinsky snickers, but you don't have the heart to laugh with him, nor to sneer at the stink of his breath. You don't know how to handle situations like this, least of all when the victim is strapped to a table, waiting for you to re-inflict one of their greatest fears. Perhaps reassured by your respectful reaction, Theodore adds a surprising epilogue to his tragic tale. Well, I got so scared of reliving this kind of situation, or finding out that every dentist out there would be as bad as he was, I never went to the dentist, not even once in my entire life. Basically, this whole situation is a baptism by fire, so they say. Here's hoping I don't get burnt. Never? Not even once? Holy shit, if this is true, Theodore might not have any dental records in the first place. Pulling his teeth might be completely unnecessary. You have to convince Kurakawa about this though. There's no promise he'll agree to skip such a step in this procedure, no matter how much suffering it would spare. That's quite useful. That's all for now, thanks for your time. I want to have another go. 5530. Yeah, I thought it was. With neither warning nor spectacular flourish, the combination lock whirs open, then thumps onto the carpeted floor. As it gasping its last breath, the briefcase yawns open, revealing a fat manila file stuffed full of documentation detailing Zadrinsky's life. Freshest in the West End indeed. If it weren't for Theodore's impending evaporation, you'd offer to become 5530 Food and Fruits most loyal customer, as thanks for this. You reach into the briefcase and retrieve the massive collection of barely held together medical reports and interview transcripts. There's at least £10 worth of paper to pour through. Oh, that's a lot to read. I'm just trying to see if there's anything major that I need to kind of look at. There's quite a bit of surgery from concussion, gallbladder, appendix, hairline fracture, hernia, laser eye surgery, his AB+. The files are equal parts informative and gibberish. Most appear to cover the preliminary evaluations Zadrinsky underwent pre-evaporation, and the thoroughness with which Kurakawa carried them all out. There is, however, one specific detail in the case file that surprises you. Known dental history, not applicable. It seems Theodore told you the truth, he literally never went to the dentist because of his deadbeat dad, and now you have the proof. Still, you're not sure how Kazuo overlooked this when filling out the paperwork to begin with. Did he make a mistake? Or is he knowingly going through with the tooth pulling even though his patient can never be tracked down through dental profiling to begin with? Whatever the case, you suspect it will be tough to change the supervisor's mind. He doesn't exactly strike you as the type of person eager to take the easy way out. Evidence might let you convince him that torturing Theodore is a net negative, but as you get to know him better, you'll be left with no clear idea how best to persuade him. Let's go speak to him, then. You tiptoe towards the assassin, careful not to make a sound. Cold sweat trickles down your face as you watch him absently-mindedly absent-mindedly twirl a butterfly knife, snipping apart a piece of paperwork like an automatic shredder. Sensing your approach, he abruptly about-faces, snatching the scraps of paper mid-air and stuffing them down his lab coat's pocket, still twirling his weapon around. He stares you down, eyes impassive yet impatient. Something you were curious about, or are you ready to get started? Transfixed by the still swirling dagger, you swallow hard, tugging at your turtleneck's taut collar. Hopefully your questions won't make this stone-cold killer want to cut you instead. Tell me about yourself. How did you become a corporate hitman? Hitman? Corporate? Don't insult me, new blood. I may be a contract killer by circumstance, but I remain a humanitarian at heart, and do so in spite of the capitalistic animals who corrupted what Smirnocore used to be. The old man's cold anger feels like a garrote wire pressing against your neck. Scared and struggling to breathe, you babble out incoherent apologies, unsure what sparks such sudden hatred. Noticing your confusion, Kurikawa lets out a deep, dour sigh. Soon his eyes no longer shot with anger, but appeared dulled by melancholic nostalgia. In my home country, there are those we refer to as Johatsu, people who pay private companies to vanish from society without a trace, hoping to begin a new existence freed from the burdens of old. Sometimes they are office workers escaping a business that will overwork them to death. Others are merely criminals, wishing to wipe the record clean of the younger selves' past sins. Most are merely hopeless souls looking to commit suicide, without making their families realise love was insufficient. Thousands of us are reported missing every year, and not just because of Smirnocore. Thousands of us, does he mean? Indeed. Decades ago I sacrificed my career and dignity to become Yahatsu, and it was the best decision my past self ever made. No longer was I trapped working for a cause I didn't believe in, no longer was I shackled to a lover I did not care for, no longer did I practice tying knots to hang myself in our kitchen. I could simply be what I wanted to be, without the burden of expectation. And, more than anything, I wanted to become the kind of person who could provide the fresh start those evaporators had provided me. That is why I enrolled as a member of Gertrude Borodine's Humane Society, the original Smirnocore. Is he implying this company actually used to be a nice place to work for? After all you witnessed, the Humane Society feels like a flat-out lie, but the longing in his eyes is almost impossible to overlook. He yearns that unlikely past with the fervour of a lover mourning their lost soulmate. Maybe you should learn more about this Borodine person. What was Borodine's vision? Miss Borodine was a woman of tremendous vision and boundless compassion. Her actions were not guided by a bottom line nor a potential control of the world, and that made all the difference. In her eyes, humanity's increasing reliance upon technology could compromise the concept of individual privacy even, which would in turn transform the components of citizen identity into assets ripe for exploitation, a foe that could not be vanquished with scientific advancement alone. To that end, she created the Smyrna Society, an organisation dedicated to preserving human freedom and access to non-digitised information, a haven against the obfuscation of an increasingly post-truth world. She strove to provide evaporation services to people seeking better lives. To preserve historical information, certain governments would see forgotten, and we, her followers, were glad to serve that ambition. An unexpected smile blossoms across his face, his hard features softening to those of a man less accustomed to violence. His eyes drift towards the name tag pinned under his lab coat, studying its angelic Art Deco design. His smile wilts as he remembers what it used to look like, what it used to represent. Sadly, the operating costs of such a complex, rapidly expanding organisation ballooned at incomprehensible speeds. Soon we had no choice but to explore private revenue streams to sustain our operations. And as our clientele grew, so too did our mission statement grow increasingly unrecognisable. We began evaporating rebellious individuals against their consent, rewriting knowledge we once safeguarded to whitewash dark chapters of history, raising replacements inside laboratories to pursue profitability over humanity, a defilement of everything the Smyrna Society once stood for. Gertrude no longer held the reins of her creation, nor did anyone else really. The damage done to humanity was already too great, and those in positions of leadership grew too powerful to consider salvaging what remained. I think that means powerful, but I'm not. Avaricious? We'll go with avaricious. Thus, rather than remain partisan to a now monstrous initiative, Borodin and her followers chose to evaporate themselves. They wish to be forgotten by history for the crimes they committed against it. Only I remain now, trying to provide what little compassion I can, while working with a company that craves control above all else. One might call my endeavour foolish, since I still abide by Smirnokov's directive, but I'd rather commit great evil for the sake of good than sit back and do neither, as I had in my past life. Sheesh. No wonder he felt so strongly about maintaining empathy in his line of work. Though you're not sure you agree with Kuroko's methods, it's hard not to admire his dedication, nor to pity his lost cause. Either way, you're more convinced that his resolve is unyielding. At this rate, it's unlikely if you'll manage to argue your way out of pulling Theodore's teeth. Interesting. We will call things there. But next time, we're going to learn a little bit more about Borodin and the history of old Smirnokhor before things went a little bit sideways. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.